Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This video has been circulating on social media. It's a housing project for the war veterans. We have seen an acceleration of this kind of activity. Let's just watch the video.
So 2025, we were highlighting the milestones of what His Excellency Dr. E.G. Mnangagwa, late Second Republic, is doing to make Zimbabwe a better place. These are the presidential solar-powered houses that are being built here in Nembuzia for the war veterans by the Presidential War Veteran Housing Scheme. Brick upon brick, stone upon stone. Simba, work in progress. Very different solar powered houses. Right now, as you can see, Parkosandwa right now, Bata Samare, President Gazira Simba, where His Excellency, the President Nagagwa, we are telling Ama of veterans, this gives eventually different accommodation to the people. President Nagagwa and President Wanogona.
Well. Well done indeed. From what one can see there may be 3 houses. And there'll be the 3 lucky war veterans who get those houses. I don't know how many war veterans are in Nambuzia. And 3 is a good start. It's got to be applauded. But what is at issue here is that government, the primary purpose of government is to create an enabling environment where the nation can prosper, where the individual, through their own effort, can prosper. We are looking at 45 years since independence, and yet over 50% of Zimbabweans today are living in abject poverty, including the war veterans. So while the government is saying it's building houses for the war veterans, the truth must be said that they are not the only one, that they are not the only sector of this segment of the nation that are in need of decent housing. Millions of others are in the same situation. So the question has got to be asked, why has government failed to create an enabling economic environment where all these people could be building houses for themselves and not have to rely on government, and not have to wait for 45 years for government to build them a decent home? It must be pointed out in this case that if the window pane of this lovely house should be broken, some of these war veterans are so poor, they can't afford to replace it. That's how desperate these people are. Why has government abandoned its primary purpose of creating an enabling environment? We living in a country where unemployment is soared to 90%. It's been 80% plus for the last 20 years. And it is no doubt why millions of Zimbabweans have left the country in search of a living, just to survive. Millions. One of the problems that has happened, particularly for the rural people, is that the regime has stubbornly refused to give them title deeds to even 10 square meters of where their rural home is built. If the people had the title deeds, they will have the confidence to invest in better housing. This has been known all along, even before independence. Ian Smith was told, abandon this idea of communal lands, tribal trust lands, where no one is given any title deeds. People must be given title deeds to the land on which their mud huts are built. And Ian Smith stubbornly refused to do so. Why? He argued that if you give the people the title deeds to the land, they will be able to build decent structures on that piece of land, knowing fully well that even if they should decide to move, they can sell it. They will improve the piece of land by digging wells so that they've got clean water to drink, by planting fruit trees, etc. But as long as they don't have title deeds, they cannot make that kind of investment. Ian Smith refused to give the rural people title deeds because he felt that would be the stepping stone to them being economically empowered. The next thing they would want is to be politically empowered. And he was not prepared to give the vote to the blacks. Zanu PF has done the same thing. Since independence, it's now 45 years since our independence. The rural people still are being denied title deeds to even 10 square meters on which their mud hut stands, for the same reason. Here is Margaret Dongo speaking to that same subject. And for those who are not aware, Margaret Dongo was herself a Zanu PF, a freedom fighter, and after independence, she was a Zanu PF MP, and then she became an independent MP.
They have wrong priorities, especially the current government. How can you go and build an airport which services a few people, and the majority are the elite and the so-called investors? Look at the rural. I made you come to interview me because I wanted you to have the experience of the roads that we are using. If we go today to our hospital there, you feel pity with that's a hospital in a rural area. If we go to our clinic, you feel pity. We have no piped water here. Do you know the reason why the rural people vote for Zanu PF? One, they're intimidated. Two, the policy is that the rural people should remain poor and subservient to the government. They should remain poor, because if they remain poor, they continue singing the song for their master. This is why these people have been impoverished. It's for a reason. Kuti the moment, if you economic empower these people, they'll go out of hand. Zanu PF will never have control over them.
It is true that the War of Independence was, among other things, fought over the issue of the land. And title deeds are at the heart of it. It is interesting to note that since independence, the ruling elite are the ones who got the land. Here is Mnangagwa himself showing off one of his farms. As you can see, stretching to the horizon. And he has recently given title deeds to the ruling elite. And yet, the regime will stubbornly refuse to give title deeds to anybody else. By the way, of course, title deeds you get from Zanu PF are worthless. We are looking at these houses that are being built for war veterans. From the closeness of the houses, I think they'll probably have no more than just a few square meters of land in front of the house and behind the house. And even then, I'll be surprised if these houses, they get the house and they get the piece of paper saying they've got title deeds to the house and to those few square meters of land associated with the house. Even if they did, anyone, those war veterans, would know that they would be booted out of the house if they should be suspected of supporting the opposition or the likes of Blessed Geza. That is how brutal and ruthless the regime is. He dared to criticize the regime on issues of corruption and mismanagement. Everybody knows that this is the cancer that is killing the nation. And yet, when he dared to say it out, the regime descended on him. He was firebombed out of his house and farm and is now in hiding. The war veterans who will get these houses will all know that this is a vote buying scheme. So we have moved now from the government should have the primary task should be to create the enabling environment for peace and economic prosperity for the whole nation. Government should be building roads, schools, making sure that the basic infrastructure is there for economic prosperity. And leave the issues of building one's own house, decent homestead, to the individual. Why is government doing what the individual can do for themselves? We know why. This is a regime that has abandoned its primary task and is now focusing on silencing dissent and has been on a vote buying frenzy. Zimbabwe seems to be in a election campaign mode, perpetual one. And Mnangagwa is out there buying votes, buying the support of the various people. If he's not doing that, he's strengthening his oppressive regime. The amount of money that has been spent on security is unbelievable. This is a fleet of vehicles the regime bought for the police. And yet, many of the rural hospitals do not have an ambulance. The regime has spent a lot of money arming the police and the army. And whenever there is any threat of violence, please hold on power, it has never hesitated to descend on those who dared challenge the regime. We have got a regime that has no interest whatsoever in carrying out its primary purpose of making sure there is peace and prosperity, but is instead wielding a big stick and a small carrot to keep the few in line for its own political ends. Breaking the mold is the challenge that this nation is facing now. This nation cannot carry on the way we are going. Zanu PF is building these houses for the war veterans, and yet is neglecting the millions of ordinary people who are just as desperate and living in abject poverty as the war veterans themselves. Zimbabwe's political and economic situation will never change as long as we have this system that has allowed Zanu PF to blatantly rig elections. Making sure we have free, fair, and credible election is at the heart of the real change the nation needs. And right now, we need to focus on that. Because what we are seeing here is not sustainable. The country is sinking. Those who will have the opportunity to travel to Nembutia, looks like there's going to be a big party in a few days' time to celebrate independence. They will see for themselves the state of the roads and bridges and the abject poverty of the ordinary Zimbabweans whose houses, whose huts are along the way. those people will never have decent homes. And it will never happen as long as we have a regime that has abandoned its primary task of creating an enabling economic and political environment for the country to enjoy peace and prosperity. Zanu PF believes that they have the divine right to rule the country. And this is at the heart of our problem. No one has a divine right to rule the country. The mandate to govern the country must be derived from the people in a free, fair, and credible election. That cannot be overemphasized. Zanu PF Mnangagwa rigged the 2023 elections. That cannot be denied. He can pretend that it doesn't matter. That is what matters. We have an illegitimate regime, and this is why we can't hold it to account. Here is Mnangagwa boasting that he doesn't care that the 2023 elections were rigged.
Kana vakatuka Zanu PF kana ini ndonyanyisa kufara kuita zvakanaka. Ukavona vavengi vakwashi kurumbidza unenge uchikanganisa. Ukavona vachiti Zanu PF yakaipa farai. You are doing correct things for your country. Hongu takaita maelections edu kuna vamwe vaitaura zvisina musoro zvikanzi maelection anofamba zvakanaka ndezvavo.
After 45 years of independence, it is heartbreaking that we have failed to hold free, fair, and credible elections. And this is the reason why Zimbabwe is a failed state. As we celebrate the 45 years of independence, we really have to focus on, we have to end this madness. As long as we have a regime that is not democratically accountable to the people, Zimbabwe will never have any meaningful economic recovery and political stability. That is the message. Thank you very much, those who were able to join. I hope you'll be able to do it again at 7 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time. Good night.